Can you build it out for me from ball goes out of bounds, what it looks like, terminology or
Right.
anything, cueing?
Yeah, I'll break it down this way. To me, you got when the ball's out of bounds and you got when the ball comes in bounds. When the ball's out of bounds, we're fighting that catch in every chance we get, no matter what the press offense looks like. Now, the change that you can decide to make is what you want to do with your guy who's taking the ball out of bounds, that defender. Do you want to put him on the ball? Do you want to take him off the ball and potentially double their primary ball handler, maybe make somebody else bring it up the court? We've done that. We like to do that. Now, we don't press. When I say press, we don't go our double fist, pressing with traps anymore after makes. That's a big change we made here after year 3, year 4. Now, we work on it in the case that we need it at the end of the game, but to me, ball's out of bounds, now the ball comes in bounds. So first goal is to deny that ball in. Second goal, if you can't accomplish goal number 1, is to arrive on the catch and put as much pressure on the ball as you can. Arriving on the catch meaning, when that ball handler catches the ball, he wants to turn around and see somebody right there. So arriving on the catch and then guarding the ball is key. Once the ball comes in bounds, Coach, we say this all the time, PPS, PPS, PPS. And that's pressure, position off the ball, and stunning, hand and foot fake, bluffing, whatever you call it. Those are the 3 most important things when the ball comes in bounds. And so you got pressure on the ball. We don't want the ball to go to the middle of the floor. We want to influence it, not force it up the sideline, because that's where an extra defender is at in the sideline. And then off the ball, it's pretty simple. We call it 1/3 position for the other 3 guys who's not, the deepest, who's not taking the guy who's deepest. Usually somebody's at the basket, near the basket, under the basket. That position is called 1/3. You're 1/3 away from the ball towards your man, and you don't want to be caught holding your man's hand. If you can touch his hand, you're too close. You want to get to 1/3 position. And then stunts are critical. Anytime the ball is driven at you, you want to stunt. We don't want to get beat to the middle of the floor. So that's as simplistic I can put it. We really start with, the pressure while the ball's out of bounds, making a huge point of emphasis on we call him the madman, who's guarding the defender out, or the offense out of bounds, that defender. And then we morph, and when the ball comes in, this is what we want. This is where we want to be. And kind of going from there. But I tell coaches all the time, I think the most important position when the ball is out of bounds, I don't think this, I know this, is that madman position. Can you put pressure on the ball while it's out of bounds? Because for just a minute, you're playing 5-on-4. He can't go anywhere. I mean, maybe he can run the baseline, but he can't come in bounds. So you got 5 people to take away 4 people. We really try to fight that ball in.
And then you mentioned sometimes turning around and going and doubling. And I thought you made a good point. I've heard you say before, but especially at lower levels where you don't have 2 or 3 ball handlers, kind of using that guy against maybe somebody who's burnt you the whole game.
Yeah, we try to do that when we see that. I think one thing is if you're in a game where you feel you can maybe overwhelm the opponent, that can be quite striking. VCU, we used to do it after makes. And it's hard, but it's possible. But we like here I'd say we probably do it, Coach, probably 25% of the time in full court situations. We take the madman off the ball and we jam their point guard most of the time. And the rule is simply this: if we are jamming a point guard on the other team, there is absolutely no logical way he can get the ball, ever. And so they've either got to inbound it to a forward or one of those guards that are probably coming up the sideline. If they're coming from up the sideline, that probably means they're there for a reason. Coach probably does not want them handling the ball too much. Then we just try not to let that guy get it back. The biggest thing I would say that hurts that is you've got to make for sure whoever that primary ball handler is that you've put 2 on, you can't let him catch it going the other way, because if he does, you're in trouble. Mm-hmm. So it's you got to find that happy medium of denying him the ball back, but not getting beat going the other way.
The more you're talking, the more I'm having flashbacks to our game. It's all making sense now. You've talked about, not necessarily using traps a lot, but you still do use traps. Can you talk about the triggers that cue your players when to go run and who to run, and then the rotations out of those traps?
We don't give them a ton of freedom with that, frankly. We tell them, when they're going to trap. Now, if we're in our double fist pressure, which is our full court man pressure, they have the autonomy to go trap when they want. We try to get them to understand what a good trap looks like and what a bad trap looks like, because, sometimes we were guilty of this at VCU sometimes, was people just go trap to trap. And that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for good traps. We're looking for traps where we can get the ball in a trap. Before we talk about specific examples, I think it's, if you're gonna look at trapping, if you're gonna look at pressing, then you've got to work on trapping. You have to work on that, because if not, you're going to end up playing in an outnumbered break situation for the entirety of the game. Coach Pitts used to always say this. I thought it was great. Everybody comes and asks me about pressing. If you're afraid to give up a layup or an open shot from time to time, don't press. Don't come wanting to talk about it, because that's not going to happen. If you're going to trap, if you're going to put two on the ball, you've got to be okay with every once in a while, them getting an open look or getting a layup, and you hope that the cumulative effect will take over. But the ways that we trap most, Coach, are, ball screens. We like to trap ball screens a decent amount, and then specific players. If we're playing, somebody who's really good ball screen situations, or maybe he's averaging 22, and you just want to make somebody else make a play. You want to get the ball out of his hands, but they set a decent amount of ball screens for him. That's a great. They're bringing two to the ball for you right there. And it always kind of, something we look for in scouting. Hey, if that guy's averaging 17 and they set 52 ball screens a game for us, that's 52 opportunities to trap him. But if you're going to do that, you got to work on scrambling. You got to work on, what you see in those situations is usually the reason that maybe the other team scored is because the two guys who were in the trap did not sprint out of the trap and get back into play. That's huge. We like to put two on the ball. We're way more strategic than we used to be. I tell people all the time, my second year, the year that you talked about playing us, I think we were third or fourth in the country in turnover margin, which is really good. You're like, man, I would love to lead the country in that turnover margin. That's awesome. We were way up there in steals too. Way up there. It's like, golly, yeah, that's awesome. You want to take the ball from the other team. For whatever reason, I think there was 363 teams in the country, and I think we were 359th in 2-point field goal percentage defense. So we were literally either stealing the ball or you were shooting the layup. You don't want that. Don't do that. Don't go out there and oh man, we're leading the league in steals and turnover margin and all this, and then half the other time they're just dunking the ball and shooting layups. So there's a middle ground there, and I think we found that here. Not being perfect at it, but found it here. And a lot of things that we try to do is Coach Dixon does a great drill here where he'll put two guys in a trap near half court. He'll put the offense at various points on the court, and then he'll have the ball. Coach Smart used to do this too, but it was out of the full court. And he'll just throw it. He'll just throw it to somebody on the court, and you gotta fix it. Everything we do at the back end of transition defense, pressure, whatever it is, a trap, you got to fix it. Fix it means match up. Not match up with your man, but you got to get matched up. We got to get 5-on-5 here. And you just kind of play that way. I got friends who are in coaching that watch some of my practices, and they're like, ain't no way in hell I can play that way. It's not for everybody.